So, we're talking about the Vancouver Canucks, and whether or not Patrik Allvin is a liar. Now, I know, that's a really bold thing to go out there and say. Calm down, we're not just going to go out there and lambast on people online. But I do think there are some elements to the Vancouver Canucks and the people that manage the hockey team that we can question. We're asking a bunch of questions in this video, and we are using some tweets to dive into some narratives, talking about Vancouver and the fans after this trade deadline. Take a look at what Patrik Allvin said his message is to the Vancouver Canucks fans. I think the fans should be happy and excited that we're not starting from scratch here. We've got some good pieces on the ice right now that have been performing really well. Huh? Now, let's give Allvin and his team some credit. They did beat Connor Bedard yesterday. That did happen. 6-3, right? Performing really well? Yeah, Nikita Tolopilo had a pretty alright game. Brock Besser got 2 goals. When was the last time you saw him do that, eh? Now, I jest, but I can understand what Trevor Beggs is saying here when he says, huh, at the end of this tweet. Let's go out there and read some of the replies. No, we don't. Maybe 2 defensive prospects are looking good. The rest are garbage. Corey Davis says Allvin is right. The Canucks have Coots, Medvedev, Kudryavtsev, Petey, Vilander, Buyam, Lekaramaki. It's not great, honestly, but it's not nothing. This other user says, okay, the Canucks have the Zamboni. They have the anthem singers. Those people who sweep the spot where the boards meet the ice. Let's head over to one of my favorite Twitter accounts, Sapster, Edward, who goes out there and talks about this tweet, posted by Taj. Bick Nazar just asked how management can say you don't rebuild when you have Miller and Hughes, and then claim the rebuild isn't starting from scratch and has been going on for a while. Allvin, again, didn't really know what to say to this question, and he had trouble finding his words before talking in circles. Sapp went out there and said, I know a thing or two about pathological liars. I was raised by one. Allvin and Rutherford check all the boxes. Rutherford, knowing he'd get caught in a lie, decided to remain in the back and let his puppet Allvin take the fall. And Patrik forgot the number 1 rule about lying. Make sure the other guy doesn't have the access to the truth. He's gonna be the fall guy. And if he doesn't see it by now, then that's his problem. Now, I wonder what it is that this tweet is inferring about these guys, but this reply says, I hate that you gave me this reframe on the management team. But I suppose the only characters that would outswindle this ownership was a greater swindler. Darn it. That's a really interesting thing to go out there and say. Not necessarily because, it's 1,000,000% right, or because Sapp is an idiot or whatever. No, I think Sapp's a pretty smart dude. But this circling back on commentary and not really having a direct answer to things, this has been Allvin's motto for years. Like, I don't think Patrik Allvin has ever given a genuine, illuminating answer about a certain Canucks-related topic in years. At least when it comes to these confrontational things. Like, when the Canucks were doing well in 23-24, that's when Allvin would get a little bit more eased up and he would be more honest about his thoughts. Like, oh yeah, we told Brock Besser he could have been a 50-goal scorer, but nope, he only got 40. Boo-hoo. Like, stuff like that. It's kind of, it's not answering questions, it's just more giving insight as to how things are or what things could be. Now, when things are negative and the media is the way it is and the fan base is getting pissed off and the ownership maybe doesn't want to spend the cap, and he also had to get convinced to be okay with a rebuild, now we are seeing Patrik Allvin as the guy who didn't make the Quinn Hughes trade despite being the GM of the team that had Quinn Hughes, going out there and answering questions about whether or not the team could have rebuilt with JT Miller or Hughes on the team at the same time. Allvin doesn't know what to say, and he has trouble finding his words. Let's take a look at this other tweet here. Donnie and Dolly from yesterday They had themselves a show, of course, because it was the trade deadline. Go look at that dressing room and tell me what leaders are left. That's the segment Twitter video caption over here. Sapp said, other than a lucky second-round appearance, the only thing our leaders have led us to is perpetual mediocrity. Overpay for leadership and free agency. You're rebuilding a team, so you shouldn't be worried about going over the cap. The Canucks cannot keep wasting opportunities to accumulate assets just to preserve leadership from an era of Canucks hockey that most people are going to want to forget in 5 to 10 years. And I think that's a pretty fair way to look at it as well. The Canucks haven't really been a good team since, 23-24. They were a good team in that season, but they were a successful team. I think that's the difference here. Vancouver had the best defenseman on the planet, one of the best goaltenders in the world, a center who was able to get 100 points as a second C, technically, and they had these really good results. But will I say that 23-24 team was good? Better than maybe some of the other Canucks teams we had seen with the Sedins and whatnot? I'm not sure. Especially when you look at the quality of chance generation that the Canucks had in the playoffs and everything. It's like, yeah, they just didn't really generate chances. They stopped shooting in the playoffs. That's the Rick Tocchet style come into play here once those first and second playoff rounds began. Now, this Vancouver Canucks generation, this core of guys, this is all that they can put their fingers on. This is all that they can say they accomplished here. Perpetual mediocrity is every other season, other than that second round playoff appearance and the bubble years, which, the core for that isn't even here anymore either. No Toffoli, no Tanev, no Markstrom, no Bo, no JT, no Quinn Hughes. The only guys there from that part of the team who are still here now, it's Pettersson and Besser. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. I'm not going to go out there and make an entire video saying, Patrik Allvin is a liar and this and that, and the team is not good and whatever, but there is optimism. Harmondale went out there and tweeted this out. The Flames have 6 first-round picks and 8 second-round picks in the next 3 drafts. This doesn't even include the 4 first-round picks they have made in the last 2 years. The Canucks do deserve credit for finally starting to build a surplus of draft picks, but it goes to show there are levels to this. Nikhil went out there and said the Canucks are in month 2 of their rebuild and have 4 first-round picks and 7 seconds in the next 3 drafts. Not too shabby. Harmon replies, for sure. Wasn't meant to be a criticism of the Vancouver Canucks. My only concern, though, is what trade chips do they have left to sell moving forward that would command high prices, especially if they stay firm on keeping Hronek? The point here is that even though Vancouver has done a decent job at building their draft capital with this trade deadline period and with this season, assuming you keep Filip Hronek, how else are you going to bolster up the rest of your draft capital picture to make it look like what Calgary has, for example? They've been getting this because they've been trading everybody. They've been doing that for years. Is Vancouver willing to take that step? Are they willing to trade away Pettersson, Besser, DeBrusk? They already did Garland, but there are still levels to this. There are still more ways to go. There are still other guys to trade, and you have new opportunities to do that at the draft. So with all that said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. This is a weird video, but I want you to let me know all your opinions on these Canucks notes, from the idea of Allvin and Rutherford being liars to where Vancouver stands greatness-wise amongst other Canucks teams, and what the future holds for some of these draft picks and the players that could be traded away to get them. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.